Good afternoon, Merry Christmas if you're celebrating. My name is Veronica Seper. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and today I wanted to briefly review the provincial nominations for 2025, which were quite a disappointment because if we remember early in 2025, the allocations for the provinces were cut in half. So now I'm going to share my screen and show you some of the highlights. So what was the central theme? It was pretty much prove you fit the province problem. And a lot of problems were related to healthcare. In BC, we saw high salaries. And in Ontario, if we remember the 2024 auditor report, that these reports come about every 2 years, they were thinking about those with job offers and outside the GTA. So let's start. Ontario, they use all their nominations by December 18. And the key developments to watch is right now they are thinking of revamping the streams. Potentially, one a job offers will continue in all the streams except for healthcare, and we will have a high wage and a low wage offer. And they are also thinking to attract high skilled talent, but it hasn't been defined what constitutes that. It could be in culture, it could be in science. So we're waiting, and I'm hoping that it will be announced early 2026. In 2025, we have 10,750 nominations. And if you can see in this little graph, people were surprised. But again, if you read the auditor's report, they were strongly recommended to use the nominations for people with already job offers. So we have 0 for master graduate stream, 0 for PhD graduate stream. Entrepreneur stream was already eliminated by then, but they still mention it on the website. So some key things here, if you go and do a deep dive in the job offer, you will see a lot of focus in rural areas in ready. One key thing to keep in mind is that the salary requirements for foreign worker stream and international student stream are a little bit different. For foreign worker stream, you need to meet the wage salary. For international student stream, you need to make the floor salary. And for in-demand skills, where we saw only 1,063 nominations, they were in very specific node codes like home support workers. So then if we move to British Columbia, and what really I don't understand and I want to see what happens is that even though it was announced that the provinces will get more spots in 2026, this is the only province who has announced what are they getting in 2026. They recently announced that they will have a 15% reduction. So it is quite disappointing because in BC you already are expecting high salaries. If you have to be necessarily in some key sectors like healthcare, and now with less spots, we're going to see what happens because there would be increased competitions, probably higher salaries and priority sectors in healthcare tech, and hopefully some sort of entrepreneurship, but we don't know yet. And then we have Alberta, which they issue 6,741, and then multiple streams, opportunity streams, which really require you to have some connection to Alberta. So keep an eye on that. And then we have Manitoba, which started quite a slow, 50% of allocation. So they only had 4,750. Then they fought, you saw in the news probably, they got 1,489 space. And in September, they had a massive draw. So they had the most dramatic year-over-year change, big reduction, mid-year boost. But Manitoba, within these limits, is committed to attract the skilled workers. And again, they really emphasize that what is important for them is Manitoba connections and work experience in the province. And then we have Prince Edward Island and the North with 1,609 invitations across 2025 draws. Again, ties to the province are important. Confirm employer demand, and Northern Territory is only 300 nominations, and Yukon they had 282 after a mid-year adjustments, already working on prioritizes in the region. Sometimes when people tell me, oh, I have expression of interest and all that in all these provinces. And if they are not in healthcare, my question is, well, you don't have a connection to the province. So that's something to establish first if you're thinking that PNP might be an option for you. Especially PNPs are highly recommended for people over a certain age when Express Entry really starts um, becoming a little bit less approachable because you are getting older. And then finally, we don't know what are the exact allocation for each provinces, but it is important to be very honest with yourself and ask yourself, do you have connections to that province? Are you willing to move to rural areas in the province? Are you willing to be prepared for smaller strategic rounds and have all your documents ready? Like we saw how Ontario surprised a lot of people in the last 2 weeks. And I had a couple of consultations where those employment letters were not ready to go. And remember, you have 14 days to accept the offer, and the employer has to move really fast as well. So this was an overview of um, 2025 provincial allocations. I'm hoping to update this soon. So again, my name is Veronica Seper. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant at Westdale Immigration. If you want to contact me, my calendar is always open, and I specialize in express entry and provincial nominations, mostly in big provinces like Ontario, British Columbia, and Manitoba. But if we cannot work together, I always have the most supportive and most knowledgeable colleagues. Happy 2020.